In this module, we're going to be going over the details for planning a general recurring club meeting or practice or rehearsal. So this is not going to apply to large scale or one-time events, but really just those smaller weekly recurring meetings that might happen for your organization. The main things to think about when planning one of these recurring meetings are reserving a space, thinking about if you're going to have food and drinks, posting on campus groups, and then any other details that might occur. Reserving a space is required even for general club meetings as well as those large scale events. So really, you should use the links in the reserving a space module or in the student org handbook to reserve a space for your meeting. Note that there are a few different forms because there's different spaces that are managed by different departments across campus. You can look for a full list of spaces on campus using the university events website. If you are requesting a space for a general club meeting, you don't necessarily need to request so far in advance as you would for a large scale or more complicated event. For university events, even for these recurring club meetings, you do need to request at least 10 business days prior, so about 2 weeks. However, for the Shapiro Campus Center, which has some dedicated club meeting spaces, there's a lot shorter of a deadline, and generally, if you request at least 3 business days out and the space is available, you'll be able to reserve it for your meetings. You can reserve spaces that are recurring that can be a lot easier than making a lot of different individual reservations for throughout the year. So for example, if you have a weekly club meeting every Tuesday night, you can go ahead and at the beginning of the year, put in a reservation for a certain space, and you can work with either university events or DSE to reserve that space every Tuesday night for the rest of the semester. A few things to note is that we really encourage you to utilize the SCC when you can, as we have some specific rooms dedicated to club use. So these spaces you're going to have a lot less difficulty booking, as there's not going to be any departments or academic reasons that anyone else is using these spaces. They're specifically for clubs. Something about classroom spaces to note is that they are very dependent on class schedules. So you often cannot reserve classrooms until the academic calendar and the class schedules have been posted. So those have to happen a little bit closer to the beginning of the semester. Also for athletic spaces, something to think about is that varsity team practices and events do always have priority in the different spaces managed by athletics. So if you do put in a reservation, please note that it could possibly have to be changed if there is another need that comes up all of a sudden. This usually doesn't happen, but it just is something to keep in mind. For food and drinks, we do want to really highlight that you do have to have a custodian booked, even if you're having food and drinks at a regular club meeting, even if there's not very many people. And this applies even if you are just having pizza or boba or something easy. It is still university policy that you need to book a custodian with university events. Please also note that food and drinks are never allowed in any of the classrooms, so you cannot have this in dedicated classroom space. For posting on campus groups, we do ask that general club meetings and practices and rehearsals should always be posted on campus groups as well, not just those large-scale events. I wanted to note, as you can see in the picture on the right side of the screen, that you can create recurring events by selecting recurring event settings and then clicking on all of the dates that you want that event to recur. So similarly to reserving a space for different recurring times, this is a way to post on campus groups that it'll pop up every single day that you select. Additionally, in the picture on the right, I want to highlight that you can have different access and display options for your event if it is an e-board meeting or a general club meeting that you don't necessarily want to be publicly visible to everyone at Brandeis. You can go ahead and edit those registration settings to say that only specific people can register or that no one can register. And also for seeing the event. If you want it to be visible to everyone, great. If you want it to be just group members only or just the specific people you allowed to register, you can go ahead and edit those settings on campus groups. Finally, considering any of the additional event details that were not covered here, you can go to the event planning overview module or look in the student organization handbook for any of those additional details and things that might need to happen in order to have a successful event. Again, as always, reach out to student engagement at brandeis.edu with any questions. Please make sure to check the student org handbook and utilize the club leader resources folder before reaching out to try and find the answers yourselves.